how it started.
This is always when people are like, would you please get your politics out of my comic books? I'm like, what comic books are you reading? And if you don't like my politics, don't buy my book.
How it's going.
I tend to be pretty optimistic, but in this one, I'm worried. I'm straight worried.
Why?
Because stores are closing at a phenomenal rate. Independent comic sales are down.
Y'all are messed up. I said fix it.
Kelly Sue DeConnick is Comicsgate, or rather, Comicsgate adjacent. See, in an interview, she stated the same points that the critics of the comic book industry have stated for years. The industry isn't doing so well. People like DeConnick have blasted critics, claiming that they know nothing about the comic book industry because they don't work in the industry. So they can't possibly know anything about statistics, sales, or revenue, even when companies like IDW post their financial reports. And yet it appears they got it right. From the mouth of Kelly Sue DeConnick. And yes, I know, I understand, I get it. I'm not asking you to look at the screen. I'm just asking you to listen. I'm going to play the whole clip. I know, but it's less than a minute, so just close your eyes, pucker your booty hole, and remember to breathe, because we're going in.
I tend to be pretty optimistic, but in this one, I'm worried. I'm straight worried.
Why?
Because stores are closing at a phenomenal rate. Independent comic sales are down. Mainstream comic sales are down, except for the top 3 or 5 books are up, and everything in the mid list is way down. Numbers that used to be numbers that would get you canceled are now like, no, that's a hit. And independent books making back the cost of doing floppies is like names that should be able to do it no sweat are going into the red on singles and not coming out until the trades.
In the words of all the critics,
yes! Yes! Oh, yeah! Can you feel that, buddy? Huh?
I love when people accidentally tell the truth. This isn't even a Freudian slip. This was Kelly Sue at her wit's end. Just look at her expression, having no choice but to admit the industry's screwed. I wonder if it could have been from certain people saying things like,
And if you don't like my politics, don't buy my book.
It's a kind of cold vindication because her admitting this isn't going to solve the problem. The comic book industry is stagnant and competes with anime, manga, film, TV, and video games, which are all more popular. When well-known creators can't sell their books, you know there's a problem. The problem was worsened by people like Kelly Sue DeConnick attacking anyone who points this out. It's a perfect example of what happens when someone gets entrenched in a perspective to the point of denying evidence proving otherwise. When people are certain about their position, they're reticent to admit that they've gotten anything wrong. It's easier to attack the people pointing out the inconvenient truth, labeling them with pejoratives, turning people against them, even threatening their livelihood. The narrative must be protected until it's no longer beneficial to do it, which is what I think happened here. I tried to track down when this interview was done, but I haven't been able to find the source. If anyone knows when this was recorded, please let me know in the comments below. It seems recent, at least within the last year, and if that is the case, then she may be talking about the situation that began just before the Wu flu and has continued through it. Orders for single issues were embarrassing. The marketing for the books was incomprehensible or non-existent. Trade sales were fluctuating, but when looking at the bestsellers, many of them were classic books from the 80s. For the single issues that managed to get 100,000 orders, several of them got tanked by the creative teams. I'm looking at you, Batman and X-Men. There were comic book stores closing or shifting their inventory to focus on something other than comics. Some stores focused on selling back issues, which were proving to be more popular with customers compared to the current books. That one I find interesting because it hadn't happened up to this point, and it's not clear what sparked that interest. It's also interesting because of the reaction from the comic book creators. They hated it. Apparently, competing with books created when most of them were still in diapers was unfair. I'm gonna be honest. When you're getting trounced by early Silver Age books, yeah, that's bad. Funny, but also bad. This is why it's not a good idea to tell people that if they don't like your comics, don't buy your books. It's not smart to deal in absolute statements. If you want to read my comics, you must agree with me isn't a good argument and has a very predictable cascade effect. It's not just that people won't buy your book, it affects the other members of the creative team, potentially causing people to assume they hold the same opinion as you, resulting in people not buying anything else those people work on. It may also cause your industry colleagues to back your statement, making people to be less likely to buy their books as well. The industry functions on people buying more than one title. When people go to stores, the store's goal is to get people to come in for one thing and walk out with many more. If many of you are talking people out of buying books because they don't agree with your politics, you're going to lose a lot of those impulse buys. But just from a creative level, you're costing yourself a customer and a fan. Your story should transcend your politics, even though they're informed by them. The story should come first, and if it's done well, the politics won't be a problem for most people. If those people like it, they will share it with other people, and those people may seek out more stories, buy more comics, and share what they found, and the cycle will continue. But if you spend your time attacking the customers, they're just not going to buy your books. And like I said before, they have plenty of alternatives. But hey, at least Kelly Sue DeConnick finally admitted the truth. She's Comicsgate, or at least Comicsgate adjacent. Ironically, if she did actually call herself Comicsgate, she'd sell more books. But what do I know? I'm just some guy.